Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the second edition of GST Pathshala. And there are people who are present physically. Thank you so much for coming physically. And of course, to all our members and interested participants who have joined us online. A very warm welcome from IMC to you. It is our pleasure to have with us a highly experienced expert in GST, Mr. Anand Kolangode, who will be leading today's workshop on importance of input tax credit in GST. With decades of service in the GST and central excise framework, Mr. Natarajan brings deep insight into both the operational and policy dimensions of India's tax system. He is currently active as a trainer and consultant on GST matters, and he is well regarded for his clarity and practical approach. In fact, when we had the first Pathshala, our question answer session went on for a very long time because the participants had so much to clear off, and I think Mr. Natarajan just cleared it off with absolute clarity and ease. And I'm sure going forward, you will have the same experience today and in further such Pathshalas. As you know, input tax credit is a critical element of the GST system. It allows businesses to reduce the tax burden by claiming credit for the tax paid on inputs or services used in the course of business. Mr. Natarajan will help us understand the fundamentals in optimizing ITC. I encourage all participants to make the most of this opportunity, ask questions, raise concerns, and engage fully. Earlier this month, when we began the GST Pathshala series with a session on evolution of GST and future challenges, we saw excellent participation and vibrant discussion. We are confident today's workshop will be equally insightful and interactive. On behalf of IMC, I welcome everyone, and without further ado, I hand over to Mr. Natarajan to take over, and I think all of us will benefit by his good counsel and his expertise, and I'm sure there's lots that you'll have in the Q&A session. So over to you, sir.
Thank you, Ajit. As Sir said, the last session, which was the first GST Pathshala session that IMC had conceived and executed, we had an excellent not only discussion but an insight into the working of the GST department and why GST was introduced by the Government of India. As he already said, we had varied types of questions during the discussions, and I and IMC hope that the questions were perfectly answered. So every fortnight, we are going to take up various topics related to the goods and services tax. And this time, we have decided to talk on the input tax credit. During central excise period, that is the erstwhile regime, it was known as, initially it started as the mod VAT credit, modified VAT credit, and then it came to sen VAT credit. And in the VAT department, the set-off was always there. So just imagine if I was a pastry maker and the pastries that I made were very tasty, and so I started selling off the counters, and due to threshold income of a particular level, shall I say 40 lakhs for goods, I had to take this central as the GST registration. Now, when I make the cake, obviously I don't make the ingredients. That only big cake makers do it. But then I had to source my base from somewhere, the cream from somewhere, the sugar from somewhere, and various packaging material to pack the cake and all. So suppose we take that the cost of the whatever ingredients that I purchase costed me 1,000 rupees basic. Out of that, 200 rupees materials were subjected to 5% GST. 200 rupees material were subjected to 12% GST. 500 rupees of material were subjected to 18% GST. And chocolate was subject to 28% GST. That is the balance of 100 rupees, which makes 1,000 rupees. So the tax component that I paid to my suppliers was in the respect of 5%, it was 10 rupees. In respect of 12%, it was 24. In respect of 18%, it was 90. And in respect of the chocolate and other high ingredients, it was 28 rupees, making a total of 152 rupees. That I paid on 1,000 rupees of materials. Suppose I put into it a margin of 500 rupees and I sell it. Let us hypothetically think that the input tax credit, that is the credit, that is the tax that I have paid on my ingredients, was not allowed to be taken as credit. On the 1,500 rupees cake, my 18% GST would have been 270. But why would I take a loss of this 150 rupees, 152 rupees that I paid on my ingredients? I would naturally add it and charge the assessee 1922, the ultimate cake purchaser. He could be an agent or a wholesaler or a retailer or the actual cake consumer, which is very unfair. See, it would be fair to me because I am charging the ultimate, my customer. But for the customer, it is not correct. This is what is known as cascading of taxes. In the erstwhile regime, somewhere down the line, the chain of credits were broken, and this resulted in cascading of taxes. Even now, as I said in the last session, there are some products, 5 petroleum products, that are still subject to central excise and not GST. So people purchasing them, the chain breaks and that tax component also becomes a cost to them. So similarly, a consumer would be paying me 150 rupees more for a particular piece of cake. So naturally, if the cascading taxes effect were there, my sale would little bit reduce. Because if a family has got a budget of 2,000 rupees to spend on cakes for their children, they would say, "Arey, ye to 270 rupees, government says 18% hai tax, but then he is charging me." So to mitigate this cascading taxes effect, the input tax credit scheme has been introduced along with the tax on the supplies made by a consumer, which effectively means when I sell the cake, I take this credit of 152 rupees. I charge the customer only 270 rupees. So what net I had to pay was from my pocket was 270 minus 152, that is 118 rupees only, would be discharged from my cash ledger, and 152 could be discharged from my tax credit ledger, thereby leading to reduced cost to my consumer. So input tax credit scheme is a beautiful concept in the GST Act, which allows all registered persons making outward supplies to take input tax credit on their inward supplies, subject to the fact that their outward supplies are taxable. So let me be very clear that input tax credit is allowed only when my outward supplies are taxable. There are exclusions though that I will explain later. So Now, what is the input tax credit? How is it defined? We will not go very seriously into that. In the GST Act, Section 2, if someone has academic interest, you could go to Section 2 where you will get each and every meaning, definition of each and every term. What is input? What is input services? What is input tax? And what is input tax credit? So, any registered person or a consultant or your accountant who is managing GST will understand these concepts. So it is not for me to explain in detail by quoting a section, which will go on and on. So input tax credit is a very important term for any registered tax person because it reduces his cost. His cost in the sense, while discharging output tax, he is able to avail of this. Thereby, when he gets the entire tax reimbursed from the consumer, he is reimbursed the tax what he has paid on his inputs. Right. So this is in very layman terms that I have explained you what is input tax credit. We will be taking into account all the questions that have come. Input tax credit is not very easy. There are so many ifs and buts. If it were very easy, then GST itself would not be complex. But with ITC being a complex issue, there are a lot of confusions, lot of misunderstandings, and lot of litigations happening. Because you must understand in the GST Act, there is a time limit to point out the deficiency made by the taxpayers. And therefore, when the last of the date comes, then the issues get converted into notices. And that is where the problem lies. Because the taxpayer, instead of concentrating on his business, starts now to concentrate on the officer's query and notice. Now, between a B and B, I'm talking of inward taxable supplies and outward taxable supplies. It is very seamless. 90% of the things that you use in relation or into your supply, you can take credit. The chain now stops at the door of the consumer, ultimate consumer, B2C. Once B2C comes, then the C cannot pass on the credit because he is the consumer. Or if the sale is to a composition taxable person, compositional taxable person is a one who has a 1.5 crore turnover in cases of goods and 50 lakhs in cases of services. In that case, there also it stops because the composition scheme does not allow you to avail ITC. I said there are two situations. One is B2C, business to consumer, where the input tax credit chain goes. So the ultimate, suppose I buy the cake and again sell the cake, the 270 rupees in the example that I raised, I can again pass it on with my margin. I may have to pay 300, 270 is the setup and 30. But where I consume it or it gets dropped from my hand or my employee, it's a waste. So the chain breaks and the input tax credit gets affected or is ultimately lost. And when the input tax credit is not passable or not passed on, then it becomes the income of the government. So you must be very clear that the income of the government does not stop initially itself. It stops at the consumer's hand. Wherever it, whether it's steel, whether it is cement, whether it is cake, whether it is everything. Ultimately, when the input tax credit does not pass, the government can finally heave a sigh of relief and say that the income has come to me ultimately. Last time also I said, this tax is a variant of the erstwhile regime act. The initial was on manufacture, VAT was on sale, and the state which manufactured and sold the income went to that particular state. Now it is not so. The income goes to the state in which that particular supply is consumed. Now, to come back to the input tax credit, there are several sections which lay a break और आपको चेतावनी देती है कि ये सब फुलफिल होगा तो ही आपको इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट मिलेगा. ये मत सोचिए कि आनंद नटराजन जी ने बोल दिया कि मैं कुछ बनाऊं, मेरा इनवर्ट टैक्सेबल सप्लाई है, वो टैक्सेबल मैंने उस पर जीएसटी लगाया तो मुझे पूरी मिल जाएगी, तो मैं पूरा धंधा उसका माइनस करके मैं अपना वैल्यूएशन कर सकता हूं. ऐसा नहीं है. There are certain conditions laid down for how and why you should avail the input tax credit. There are certain apportionment of credits where you can take for a particular cause and not for a particular cause, and there are some blocked credits. You cannot take it even if your outward supply is taxable. There are certain things. So that you now need to understand. If you are academically interested, you must be wondering, or you must have thought, why does any act have rules also? The rules are necessary to frame the procedures to govern the act, how the act should go forward. The act simply says that there shall be levied a tax known as the Central Goods and Services Tax in the CGST and the SGST, Maharashtra GST, and it shall apply to whole of the MGST, it will write the whole of Maharashtra. In us, it will write the whole of India, including Jammu and Kashmir. That says, but how the tax will be levied will come in the rules. What would be the procedures? It would say that Section 31 will say that an invoice has to be raised. But what should be in an invoice will come in the rules. That is why don't think that the government or the lawmakers are bombarding you. The rules, the act is framed, the rules gives the procedures and instructions, and act is always supreme over the rules. One should understand. So that is why the act always, when somebody acts, let us say Motor Vehicle Act and its rules, the Central GST Act and its rules, the Customs Act and its rules. So I will be going briefly through the various sections which govern the input tax credit. Now, Section 16, whenever you have started a business and you want to value your outward supply, again, taxable supply. None of this applies to non-taxable supplies. When you are going to value, you should see whether I am following the conditions to take the input tax credit or not. Now there is one Section 16 which says कि ऐसा होना चाहिए, invoice आपको मिलना चाहिए, goods या services you should have received. सामने वाला जो supply कर रहा है, tax actually government को देना चाहिए, and you have to file the monthly summary return. These are the four. Then there is one more thing. If you are taking credit on capital goods, you should not have availed of the depreciation part also. Otherwise, that Section 16 itself says you can't take. Then there is a time limit for taking input tax credit, which is important. So I will only dwell on that, Section 16(4), which says that इस साल का credit आप अगले 30 नवंबर तक ले सकते हैं. Suppose there is a dispute with your supplier और थोड़ा चल रहा है, तो वो बोलता है मैं पेमेंट नहीं दूंगा, मैंने आप बोलते हैं मैं पेमेंट नहीं दूंगा जब तक आप maybe in revision of price या substandard quantity और जो भी है. So ultimately, and you don't take credit. He has put it in his GSTR1. So automatically you can take the credit, but you will not take the credit for some reason because you want to ultimately solve it, whether I'm getting a discount or whether he is willing to take it back. And if ultimately you agree upon that, and that credit you can take up to 30th November. And if you miss it, then it is lost forever. Initially it was there up to 30th September. But then lot of people lost, lot of credits, lot of notices have been issued, but the government, as I said, the GST Act has come in for ease of business. Administration is a small part. Taxpayers should be happy. They should do business with ease. And that is why one notification came, and where there is an amnesty scheme, the 16(4) was amended, कि इतना इतना साल के लिए अभी भी ले सकते हैं करके ऐसा हो गया. Now it is very strict. 30th November is the last date. So that is one of the principal conditions. So you must take now, one of the conditions is you must have received a tax invoice. You are having a tax invoice. I am a manufacturer of steel. I take steel from an agent. See, when I am a big scale manufacturer, I can't deal with every supplier. So I have a vendor system. I have agents monitoring that vendor system, and that agent supplies me scrap, or he supplies me channels, he supplies me angles. Okay. He takes the material from you and supplies to me. But the invoice is raised by Ajit sir. So one of the conditions is satisfied, saying that I am having a tax invoice. Then it says that the goods and services should have been received. Now you may argue, because the officer anti-evasion, in audit it is not easy. But I have quoted a wrong example. In steel you have heat marks and all. The heat certificate हम पकड़ लेते हैं कि भाई ये heat mark ऐसा बोलता है तुम्हारा माल अगर माल पड़ा होगा तो. Audit also, last time I said that they can check the stock. So अगर वो देखे तो बोल सकते हैं, नहीं तो ये anti-evasion based on certain information they get. You can say sir goods भी आ गया है, invoice भी है. Then what is the condition? No, the goods and this should match. The goods supplier has not given an invoice. So there he has violated. Every goods should be received from an invoice from that supplier. So in this case, the goods have been received, आपके gate में marking हो गया, you are not responsible. The purchaser is not responsible because agent को believe करता है. The goods have come, he has manufactured, but the invoice has come from elsewhere. So you cannot. So one has to take pains to ensure that the supplies that they are received is from the supplier itself and not from the agent, and if the agent is there, if he is reputable or not. So that is one of the first two conditions, is you should have received the invoice, you should have. See, in supply, again, invoice means only goods के साथ आपको invoice मिलना चाहिए at the time of receipt of goods. If there is a continuous supply of goods, for example, if I am a gas manufacturer and I am receiving by pipeline gas, then it is based on certain intervals. So the invoice comes. So in that case, challan फटता है. In the case of services, या तो particular period है, 30 days में invoice काटना है उसको. If he has given and if he has received an advance, तो immediately उसको भरना है. So those are conditions. So I am saying ideal situation of goods. So the goods should have been accompanied by an invoice. In that case, and the goods have been supplied by that manufacturer only, I can say. Now, 2B, now the 2B system has come, GSTR 2B, wherein unless he files this GSTR 1, it does not come. Previously, ऐसा नहीं है. Any supplier, even without making a tax payment, could file the GSTR 1. And then it reflects in my 2A, so I could take the record. Now that is not possible. So 2B में अगर reflect होता है तो आप credit ले सकते हैं. So when the supplier files the GSTR 1 return, it gets reflected in your 2B. So the third, so when he has paid the GSTR 1, एक ही महीना वो बिना tax का चलेगा, because then it will not allow him. तो आजकल GSTR 1 भर दिया तो इसका मतलब है उसने tax भी भर दिया. So the third condition is that. Fourth, I should file the return. Obviously, That is a very important condition. In the erstwhile regime, one could maintain registers and take the ITC, even if you don't file the return. Now it is not possible. 20th is your date of filing GSTRB, so that or extended period given by the board. So that is the date on which you are availing ITC. Simple as that. Unless I set a situation where you are not availing that ITC based on GB and but actuals में आपको लेना है. So these four conditions are this one. If you have passed those conditions and capital goods cost, a minor condition is there and within the time limit, then you are entitled for the credits. So this goes where situations is where I have inward taxable supplies and I have outward taxable supplies. Okay? So this is eligible credit. In input tax credit, there are two terms, ineligible and inadmissible. For a layman, both are the same. So in the first case, 16 में मैंने जो बोला, all the cases are eligible credit because we have followed the parameters and my taxable supplies are outward. Now there are situations where I have taxable services, that is supplies, and also exempted supplies. In that case, what to do? बहुत मुश्किल से अपने को मालूम पड़ता है कि अपना supplies. For example, if I am making a chemical, let us take a situation, hypothetical situation, I wouldn't know, nobody should get up and say, sir, ये chemical तो पहले से exempted है. ऐसा नहीं. Suppose there is a chemical on which 18% is levied and there is a exemption notification for that. यदि ये कलर डाई कॉर्पोरेशन ऑफ इंडिया को दे देते हैं तो ये exempted है. अभी when the inputs come, the invoice comes and the material comes, you do not know that day कि I will send it to that corporation or to my regular customers because order तब तक आया नहीं होगा उनसे. तो इसीलिए the law allows you to take the credit at that time, the moment the supplier files a GST with the conditions that I said. But later on, when we realize that it is going into an exempted product, there are procedures which I will come to. There, you need not panic and pay tax or anything. A simple formula is there where you have to reverse the ITC, which the rules will say. So when I talk of the term exempted supplies, I just don't mean which are, in case of goods, the cardinal and your mool mantra is for goods, 1 and 2 is notification is most important for you. 1 is for the rate and 2 is 0 wala, nil rated. And in services, 11 and 12 or 8 and 9 jo bhi hai, because C and I ka numbers hai ye. So there, if your supplies are taxable, that is services, it comes in the particular notification. This is the mool mantra. So exempted जो 2 or 12 है, वो सिर्फ ही exempted नहीं है. There are some notifications later on the government decides that we need to exempt it for a particular time or for permanently, that cannot be said. So they say कि suppose Kerala में भूकंप आ गया and certain supplies have to be given or साहब को भेजना है, he is the sole master of sending some particular material. So for that a notification might come. Ki supplies to Kerala for earthquake hit is exempted for the time being in force. So those are also exempted. Now there is something called non-GST supply, which I said 5 petroleum products. अगर वो करते हैं or liquor for human consumption. So those also come under the umbrella of this one. So when I said that certain inputs or in supplies, services also, when they come at the time of receipt, you do not know whether they are going into the outward exempted supplies. That is why it is said that you can take it and then reverse. But what happens when you know it that it will go only to this? then obviously you cannot take the credit per se. Suppose I know मेरे को order आ चुका है, let us take the same example from Corporation of India, and I know 5 tons have to go and 3 tons of the material has come only for that. It is advisable not to take credit at that stage itself, right? Because then when auditors come or when your range officer comes or anti-evasion comes, it will be very easy to say, sir, देखिए material इसके लिए straight away गया, our intentions are clear, we have not taken the ITC. Now, if you do use it partly for business and partly for non-business, then also it allows you to take the credit, but you have to reverse. For example, under the company GST, you take 5 air conditioners and then use it in 3 for your business purpose, but 2 you diverted, 1 to my guest house and 1 to my residence. It is business and non-business purpose. So automatically, if you have taken the credit because the invoice is of 5 air conditioners, you take the credit and reverse it in that. Pehle to you could reverse when the auditor says, now to within that return only it says whatever is not eligible you got. First as second, that is I am talking of the section 17 which governs apportionment and block credits. 17.1 to 17.4 talks of apportionment and 17.5 talks of block credits. 17.1 I said business and non-business. 17.2 is taxable and non-taxable. Now 17.3 says, very interesting, why I have repeatedly maintained even in the last forum as well as in various forums where I deliver lectures, that if I were a manufacturer, or let us say, forget the word manufacturer, supplier is the term in GST. If I were a supplier, I do business by raising 2 invoices, and 1 I don't raise an invoices and I sell it for cash. Right? There, on that, say I am making this bottle of water. On that 1 bottle of water, which I have delivered without this one, the government has not earned anything at all. So it doesn't mind कि ये निकाला इसने मेरे को दिया नहीं, ठीक है. लेकिन यदि इस बॉटल का कैप और इस बॉटल को जो प्लास्टिक पैकेजिंग को आप चोरी करते हैं या निकाल देते हैं या लॉस्ट करते हैं या डिस्ट्रॉयड करते हैं, तो that particular ITC component of this, I am talking of the cap and this and the label and all, that is already in the jab of the government. Because I have not used it for discharge on the payment of the tax of this bottle, that crime is viewed very seriously by the government. इसीलिए till last year or till the 2 years before, the rate of interest on ITC violations was 24%. And on not paying tax or short payment of tax or misclassification was only 18%. But then the forum, the louder ये opposition हुआ तो backdated में हमने उसको 18% किया गवर्नमेंट ने, पैरी पैसों कर दिया, ठीक है. But I am telling you, section 73 और 74 जो deal करते हैं notices on the normal violations and intentional violations, ITC में आपको 74 के ही मिलेंगे, because they want 1:1 penalty on that. ठीक है, misclassification हो गया, उस पे से आपको 73 मिलेगा, because you have filed everything. So let's come back to our subject. So 17.3 जो section है ना सर, वो valuation बताता है और क्या क्या include करना चाहिए आपको ये apportionment के लिए. Suppose I am a lawyer and I am a consultant on administration affairs. On lawyer, it is on reverse charge basis. I did not pay, but I get income. On this, on administrative affairs, I pay 18%. So for the purpose of reversal, I have availed common credits like AC, rental of my property and all. In that case, the value of that legal income also has to be added for the purpose of reversal. It is not an exempted supply, mind you. Legal, yeah, rent a cab, yeah, goods transport, yeah, sponsorship. It is not an exempted service. आपको अपॉर्चमेंट और रिवर्सल हम हमेशा एग्जम्प्टेड में करना चाहिए, लेकिन इसमें कोई जरूरत नहीं है. You have to include this value. So 17.3 talks, but it excludes certain things. Schedule 3 करके कुछ है, वो सब exclude करता है. So that is that. 17.4 is for banking. So don't worry about that. 17.5 is very important. Block credits. There are various supplies on which, even if there is a invoice, even if you have received the supplies, even if he has paid the tax, let us say he don't think कि मैं she क्यों नहीं बोल रहा हूँ, let us consider he has she and she has he. He has paid the tax and I have filed the return. Still, in those matters, credit is not allowed. For example, in pharma industry, samples are distributed, MR samples. There is no money. It is written not for sale. Medical practitioners, doctor sample only. But usme at the time of this one, they have taken the credit, no? So to that extent, it is blocked, and the manufacturer on his own or the trader on his own has to reverse that particular credit. In case of food and beverage, अच्छे होटल से मंगाओ, अच्छा खाना खा लो, but it is considered for self-consumption. So food and beverage is not allowed. There are exclusions, don't worry about it. Same line manufacturer को be allowed नहीं है, but when it's a composite supply or mixed supply, that credit can be taken. You are organizing an event. You have told a management event to do the, he also supplies food. So what he is giving management event service, he gives food also. So he may give you a mixed bill or a composite bill. Composite bill he will not give you because tax on it is 18%, food में 5% है. वो बोलेगा सब मैं आपको food उसमें food लिख देता हूँ, उसका 5% है. So that as a matter of composite आता है तो हम credit allow करते हैं. Beauty parlor credits are not allowed unless it is in the same line of business. You are a director of the company, your wife is a director of the company, she may be or may not be the director of the company, but as perks, she is allowed to go to the spa, to the beauty parlor 4 times a month. The company pays for it, the parlor will raise 18% bill, it will ask the GST number, it will get, but still the credit will not be allowed, right? Same is the case of medical insurance and all. Same is the case of motor vehicles of 13 capacity. Suppose you are having a tempo, it's allowed because you are using it for your day-to-day service. But if a Mercedes, you have got Anand as your brand ambassador, I am becoming the brand ambassador director, and as per my terms, MOU drawn, you have to give me a Mercedes-Benz. Mercedes-Benz is bought in the name of the company, the GST number is given, but credit is not allowed. So there are various situations. There is a fire in the company, there is a fire in the godown, there is a place where you are giving the service and there some goods भी रखते हैं, some services involve goods also. तो वो जल गया, destroy हो गया, आपके employee ने चोरी कर लिया. So in that case, the ITC has to be reversed. They don't say कि आपने माल निकाला और प्रॉफिट में निकालोगे इसके लिए आपको टैक्स भरना है. नो, आईटीसी जितना लिया है वो मेरे को वापस दे दो बिकॉज वो मेरे जेब में आ गई थी. ठीक है. सो दीज आर द कंडीशंस व्हिच आर प्रिस्क्राइब्ड. वन मोर वेरी दिस इज, अगर आपको रोड में पकड़ा है, माल में ई-वे बिल नहीं था एंड दैट ऑफिसर 1:1 पेनाल्टी लगा दिया और टैक्स भरने को बोला, माने आपके सप्लायर को भरने बोला, वो आपको दिया, तो आप क्रेडिट नहीं ले सकते हैं. Wherever a notice is issued under 74, आपने चोरी किया किसी चीज का, फिर आप जाके बोलेंगे साहब मैंने ठीक है स्पेक्टिकल्स का चोरी किया लेकिन ये डंडी पे तो मैं टैक्स भराया ना, वो मेरे को दीजिए ना. नो, बिकॉज द नोटिस हैज बीन इश्यूड अंडर सेक्शन 74, इंटेंशन टू इवेड टैक्स, आई इज अ डिटरेंट. वो इसका इज कॉस्ट टू द कंपनी. So these are the conditions, sir, where I have explained there are more to ITC. So specific agar queries aata hai, for example, if a banking representative is here, if a company which has several branches across the country, but services are received in the head office and then it is passed on to various places. Got the example? There are hundreds of computers, 20 in Bombay, 18 in Ratnagiri, in Delhi, 40, 60. But AMC is given to a particular person. So the bill comes to Bombay for maintenance of 100 computers and servers. The 20 है इधर का, it is related to Bombay. 80 का जो है, it got passed on. So that is ISD. So वो सब हम नहीं लेंगे. There are special situations where ITC has to be taken or ITC has to be reversed. कल जाके ये bottle of worker government ने बोला ये तो अभी luxury नहीं रहा, ये आम आदमी भी पीता है, तो चलो इसको exempt कर दें. So जितना stock पड़ा होगा कल से तो ये तो फ्री निकलेगा, लेकिन इसमें जो गया कैप्स वगैरह का जो स्टॉक पड़ा होगा उसका रिवर्स करना पड़ेगा. सेम रिवर्स अगर आज ये एग्जम्प्टेड है, फॉर एग्जांपल मिल्क इज एग्जम्प्टेड, टुमारो इट सेज कि मिल्क तो अपना पर कैपिटा इनकम बहुत है तो मिल्क एवरीबडी कैन अफोर्ड, इट इज नॉट अ पॉवर्टी पुअर पीपल, तो इस पे चार्ज करो. तो जो स्टॉक मेरे पास पड़ी है पैकेजिंग गाड़ियां की, वो ये गाड़ियां मीन्स गुड्स ट्रांसपोर्ट की, वो वगैरह वगैरह, I can take credit. And there are provisions how to take credit. गाड़ी, suppose you have a transport vehicle and 10 years use कर चुके हैं और आज taxable हुआ और 15 वर्ष का लाइफ है तो 5 वर्ष का ही क्रेडिट मिलेगा, वो सब अलग बात है. That we need not go unless there is a specific question. So these are the sections 16 to 21 which are important in relation to input tax credit. So suppose especially new registered tax person should go through this one, because if you go to an officer, I cannot say every officer knows everything. If you go to your consultant, I cannot say he knows everything. क्या है, ऑफिसर को भी जो सिचुएशन है ना उसी पे उसको मालूम है. सडन से आप पूछेंगे कि मैंगो के बाग में उसका क्रेडिट मिलेगा तो मुश्किल है, क्योंकि उसको अभी तक मैंगो उसके सामने आया नहीं. तो वैसा है, तो if you go through the books little bit, you will very easy, because the act has been made. You may have a smile on your faces saying that अभी तक सेटल नहीं हुआ और आनंद नटराजन साहब बोल रहे हैं ये सिंपल एक्ट है. I am telling you the GST Act and its rules are very, very simple. Wherever there is a problem, the government has paid heed to the voice of the trade and amended it. This one. Yes, certain flaws, and I wouldn't say blunders as a ex-government servant, I can't say, but थोड़ा अनफेयर हुआ है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल हमने बोला रेवेन्यू कम है तो पेनल्टी सबसे ले लिया और फिर अमनेस्टी स्कीम आ गया, विद राइडर लास्ट में जो भरा है उसको रिफंड नहीं मिलेगा. इट्स नॉट अनफेयर. मेनी पीपल हैव कम शाउटिंग, आनंद आपने कल ही मैंने लास्ट मंथ ही आके बोला यार भर देने तो कमिश्नर विल टेक अ वेरी सीरियस व्यू एंड यू मेड मी पे, एंड टुडे द अमनेस्टी स्कीम, मैं उसका कॉल उठाता ही नहीं सेकंड, है ना. सो अनफेयर तो हुआ है, बट व्हाट टू डू. तो इसीलिए if a registered taxpayer, particular a new taxpayer, reads all this, then he will know that, for example, there are so many composition taxpayers who charge tax. Well, they are not supposed to. You take a medical bill. Many of these fellows are composition suppliers. You can go to the portal and check, but they will charge you 12%. He's not supposed to show it on the invoice also. So that is for academic or for the public interest also. Certain suppliers, composition tax players and all, they are away from this one. So otherwise, input tax credit is available seamlessly to all businesses making taxable outward supplies, and any problems faced by the trade will be suitably remedied by the government. I am sure. I will just read the rules also, which goes with this, the documents and conditions for taking the credit. नॉन कंसिडरेशन, आप नहीं भरते हैं, आपको सप्लायर को 6 महीना हम छूट देते हैं, उसके बाद आपको रिवर्स करना है. आप नहीं ले सकते हैं ITC, ठीक है, बैंकिंग का मैं छोड़ दिया, ISD का छोड़ दिया, स्पेशल सर्कमस्टेंसेस मैंने बोला कैसे रिवर्स करना है, कैसे क्रेडिट लेना है, दो है। डेथ ऑफ अ पर्सन हो गया, बिजनेस ट्रांसफर हो गया, तो कैसा क्रेडिट मिलेगा। सो दीज आर ऑल द रूल्स स्टिल। पेनली आपने पूरा अमलगमेट कर दिया, मर्जर कर दिया, डीमर्जर कर दिया, एवरीथिंग इज टेकन केयर ऑफ बाय द लॉ. सो नाउ सर, विथ योर permission, we can take in the questions. Selvi will moderate, but in the meanwhile, whatever questions have come to me, Selvi, are you hearing me, Selvi? Selvi, are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I will take these 4 questions which have come to me. Now, out of the 4, 2 are policy decisions. So certain things nobody can answer because it is left to the GST Council and the CBIC, Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs, to decide on that matter. Certain things, why I name both. Rates of tax, the CBIC cannot do. But आगे बढ़ाना, डेट्स को कहीं हो गया, 3 दिन आगे किया, 4 दिन आगे किया, वो सब ये डिसीजन ले सकते हैं because the council has authorized the CBI. There are certain sections which give powers to the board to do so. Now, first is, sir, clarification required regarding table 8C of GSTR 9 for 2024-25 and after. Now, is the taxpayer there? He can raise his hand and Selvi can say, because what he says that because of certain actions of the department, there could be a lot of notices because of mismatch, and hence it will create undue hardship for taxpayers, and they would shift their concentration from business and go to deal with the GST authorities. Now, this is an hypothetical matter, sir. It says कि GSTR 9 में 4 columns हैं, where 8 relates to ITC और 8A में जो 2B में दिख रहा है, पहले 2A में था, अभी 2B में दिख रहा है, और 3B में मैंने कितना लिया. एक तो इसका आंसर है A और B should match. There is a question of not matching because the act and rule mandates that you can take only of a 2B. Only thing is एक कस्टम ऑफिसर नहीं लिखता है, उधर थोड़ा मैंने एंटर नहीं करते हैं, उधर थोड़ी तकलीफ आ रही है. This table C requires reporting of transactions for 24-25, which are reflected in GSTR 2B of the next year. As I said, I can take ITC up to the next year, is it not? So वो बोल रहे हैं कि इसीलिए टेबल D 8D बराबर है, वो इन दोनों को प्लस करके एक माइनस करके वो डिफरेंस बोलता है. So there will be a negative difference. Sir, my answer only to that is, whenever the government comes forward with a new instruction, it has taken into consideration the difficulties faced by the taxpayer or by the administration in respect of that particular return. Now, if in the future something is happening, so your question is hypothetical, then it will certainly look into that and say, यार ये तो बहुत notice हुआ. If you remember in the service tax regime, धड़ाधड़ हमने डॉक्टर्स और लॉयर्स को दे दिए थे, सबको दे दिए. Then डॉक्टर मेडिकल काउंसिल अप्रोच FM नोट, ऐसा सब नहीं कर सकता तुम. You cannot, you issue notices, but this is too much. फटाफट उसको डिसाइड करो and very lenient view ले लो करके. Similarly, lawyers को तो इश्यू होना ही नहीं चाहिए था. डॉक्टर्स का फिर भी दिया, commercial properties, we got lot of revenue in that. I don't say that because they thought if they are doctors, then revenue commercial properties का भी नहीं है. जहाँ commission honestly reported by them under 192I or H, they said that 192H, 192J is a professional services. I am a doctor. Sir comes to me, I recommend him to this ma'am. She charges him 2,000. She duly sends 200. Generally, it is given in a cover, but honestly, she is paid by check. It was reported in 194H. तो वो तो आएगा ना. एक doctor, he took medical college lectures and he said, I am giving doctor services. No, he was a well-known doctor. 1 crore 2 crore आता था, तो उस पर टैक्स लग गया. बोम किया, तो ऐसे आइसोलेटेड केसेस है, तो दैट शुड नॉट बी. तो सिमिलर वे sir, this is an hypothetical situation which has not arisen. Once it arises, then I'm sure the government will do wonders and solve this question. Sir, what I request is on a one-to-one basis, if you can send me, fill in and send me. So let me see what is the problem, genuine आता है कि नहीं करके, because A and B should match, sir, right? Only thing is ये C में आपको लग रहा है जो GSTR1 सप्लायर नहीं भरा हो, बाद में भरा है, तो उसका प्रॉब्लम है. तो आप जरा भेज देंगे तो मैं डेफिनेटली उसको बैठ के सॉल्व करके, क्या है मेरी ओपिनियन मैं बताऊंगा सर. डोंट वरी, बिल्कुल फ्री ऑफ चार्ज, because it is not a big issue. We will certainly answer. The second is request for extension of due dates for filing 9 and 9C. I will tell you the situation, but I just cannot answer this. They are saying कि अभी आपने सितंबर से 30 नवंबर कर दिया ITC. ये तो आपके फोरम ने बोला कि हमको तकलीफ होती है 30 दिसंबर में नहीं होता, क्योंकि 30 अक्टूबर तक हमारा ये 44 सेक्शन 44 ऑफ द इनकम टैक्स का रिटर्न है, ऑडिट का, तो उतना बहुत टाइम लगता है सब. तो GST के लिए और एक माह, तो आपके कहने में हम कर दिया, तो वो कह दिया, तो नाउ द फोरम शुड अप्लाई कि जो रिटर्न है उसको कर दो जनवरी फरवरी, जो GSTR रिटर्न 9 का रिटर्न है. तो दैट इज फॉर द पॉलिसी मेकर्स. एंड इफ एज अ फोरम यू अप्रोच द GST काउंसिल, probably they will debate and decide on this issue. I understand 30th नवंबर को कोई वो रिटर्न आएगा, 14 you have said some 14-15 days. So I understand, sir, but extension of times is within the scope of the council and the board, and IMC and Anand Natarajan have no say in the matter. If wishes were horses, I would make it March 31st for you. Now you have written, somebody has written, what services are considered ineligible for input tax credit? See, I know as an this one layman, you have used the word ineligible and inadmissible, which I very clearly explained, sir. Section 16 conditions है, माल कहीं से आता है, invoice कहीं से आता है, माल आता है, invoice ही नहीं आता है. So those are ineligible. या आप time beyond लेते हैं, या आपने अपने मशीनरी पे जो कैपिटलाइज किया हुआ है, कोई सर्विसेज रिलेटेड टू दैट मशीनरी आपने कैपिटलाइज किया हुआ है, और वो आपने अगले नवंबर के बाद ली, तो इनएलिजिबल हो गया सर. जो कैपिटल मशीनरी है उसका टैक्स के साथ डेप्रिसिएशन आपने ले लिया, तो वो इनएलिजिबल हो गया सर. तो ये सब सिचुएशंस आर इनएलिजिबल. We can also go to the word inadmissible, sir. I said certain supplies are inadmissible. Khana, beauty parlor, medical insurance, health insurance. Certain things are like गाड़ी 13 capacity के गाड़ी के नहीं ले सकते हैं, उसका मेंटेनेंस जो है वो नहीं ले सकते हैं, वो सब है. सब समथिंग योर लॉ, समथिंग फायर, आपके इसने आपके एम्प्लॉय ने चोरी कर दिया, आपके सिक्योरिटी गार्ड को ड्रग करके किसी बाहर वाले एंटी सोशल एलिमेंट्स स्क्रैप उठा के भाग गए, तो वो सब में आप इनएडमिसिबल रह जाएंगे सर. यू आर एलिजिबल फॉर द क्रेडिट, बट बिकॉज द सिचुएशन हैपेंड, यू आर inadmissible for that credit, sir. So I hope I have answered your question. In case I have not answered it properly, sir, or satisfactorily to your satisfaction, sir, so please let us get it at the end of the program. I'll be very happy to answer that. Second question is, if GST is paid on imported goods but does not reflect in 2RA, what is the impact? 2A का तो कोई सवाल ही नहीं था सर, वो आता भी नहीं था. Initially, these small stories erupt, so I'm just telling, don't think I'm diverging. Initially, what we thought in the initially regime, कि GSTR1 जैसे फाइल होगा, सामने वाले को स्टेटमेंट जाएगा GSTR2A. वो एक्सेप्ट कर सकता है, रिजेक्ट कर सकता है, पेंडिंग रख सकता है. एक्सेप्ट कर सकता है, मैंने 3 मशीन मंगाई, 3 ही आई, ठीक है. सेकंड, आप रिजेक्ट कर सकते हैं, मैंने 3 मशीन मंगाई, आई 3, लेकिन GST आपने मेरा कर्नाटका यूनिट का डाल दिया. मैंने मंगाई 3 लेकिन आई 4, तो मैं बोलूंगा मैं एक्सेप्ट नहीं करूंगा, ठीक है. एंड थर्ड इज पेंडिंग, हमारा कोई डिस्प्यूट चल रहा है, माल आई, इनवॉइस आया लेकिन क्रेडिट नहीं लिया, तो इन दैट केस वन सी टिक्स इन वन ऑफ द कॉलम्स, it will go back to the supplier as GSTR 1A. When he clicks on that, only GSTR 1 फाइल होता था, वो फाइल कर दिया तो ये जेंटलमैन का GSTR when he accepts the 2A, इसका 2 जनरेट होता था, तो 1 minus 2 was a return called GSTR 3 automatic. उस 3 में आपको ऐड करना था आपका इंपोर्टेड गुड्स का IGST, वो ऐड करना था, बाकी कोई नहीं, इंपोर्ट ऑफ सर्विस सब आ जाती, लेकिन ये इंपोर्ट ऑफ गुड्स ऐड करते, और यदि आपने एक्सेस कैश लेजर में भर दिया तो उसका रिफंड उधर ही उधर GSTR 3 में यू हैड द ऑप्शन ऑफ टेकन, दैट नेवर वर्कड बिकॉज आपके वैट स्कीम में जे हुआ करता, वो कभी सक्सेसफुल नहीं हुआ, आई हर्ड, तो ये यहाँ भी सक्सेसफुल नहीं हुआ ऑटोमेटिक मैचिंग, एंड ऑटोमेटिक मैचिंग करना, as you know, the government is a heavily trader-based party. So they had to listen to the traders, and that is where the summary return 3B, where on your own you write what is my credit and then you pay the tax. Summary return which was challenged and now it is legalized. That return is correct because the system is not working. So sir, अगर रिफ्लेक्ट होने का सवाल ही नहीं है सर, 2B में मैं मान रहा हूं कि आजकल थोड़ा बहुत रिफ्लेक्ट लेट हो रहे हैं, तो सर अगर बाकी महीना का है और आपको कैश भरने पड़ रहा है तो यू हैव टू टेक इट इमीडिएटली विद कस्टम्स, नहीं चलता है रनिंग बेसिस में है तो खाली मार्च तक ध्यान रहे, क्योंकि वो लैप्स हो जाएगा तो फिर 9 में आपका गड़बड़ हो जाएगा. तो इफ IGST is paid on imported goods but not reflected in GSTR, which is a very remote situation, what is the impact of the GST rules in this situation? मिसमैच होता है तो ऑफिसर बैठा ही है. Ordinary inspector now starts with 75,000 rupees. So a very good salary. By the time someone retires as an assistant commissioner, I will not divulge, but a handsome salary is paid. Don't compare with the private sector. Handsome salary is paid. तो handsome salary justify करने के लिए जैसे उसको mismatch देता है वो notice देता है. पहले आपको sector officer रहेगा तो ASMT 8 या कुछ देता है ऐसा. मेरा ऑडिट है तो आपको पूछता है ऑब्जर्वेटरी लेटर में. तो ये डेफिनेटली सर ऐसा होना नहीं चाहिए. यू कैन एक्सप्लेन इट टू हिम, यू कैन शो हिम द बिल ऑफ एंट्री. अगर फिर भी नहीं है then only the notice will come, sir. So this is not a very peculiar situation or a very serious situation, sir. As I said, ease of business, the officers have been timely trained. जैसे मैं GST पाठशाला आपको देता हूँ वैसे मैं ऑफिसर्स को भी देता हूँ और सीनियर ऑफिसर्स भी देते हैं, where we are saying that you have to be liberal towards the hey, if you know in commerce there is something called law and practice. The law may say something but the practice is something different. So similarly, practice would be different, sir. Now, ITC applicability on solar power plants, including their machinery and spare parts. Selvi, na? Selvi, if you can, that gentleman is there. What is his actually question he wants to know? Because any...
So who's this gentleman?
No, it has come on a anonymous.
Okay. Oh,
So
sorry.
what happens, 1 minute, please. For an ITC eligibility and admissibility, I should know what is your outward taxable supply. So without that, if you are a trader, obviously when you buy solar power plants or panels, you can take the credit. So my answer is there. Machinery, spare parts. But if it is capitalized and it is not a plant and machinery, all that, then 17.5 comes into the picture. So unless I say it is a very generic question, if you ask me solar power plants, why not? If tax is paid on that, I wouldn't know the rate of tax, whether it is exempted or not, I don't know. If it is not exempted, definitely you can take credit. Now the question is, in a package tour, if I punch package tour including hotel and transport from a B2B agent in Gujarat, 6,000 rupees, he charged me 5% IGST. So I assume that you are in a different state and he billed me 6,300. I sold the tour to a client with charging bill as 8,000 package tour cost plus 5% GST. That is 8,400. Can I take GST of the B2B credit input of the supplier that he has charged me 300 in his bill? Since this lecture was ITC, I forgot to bring my rate book. Now, when I saw that, I got some time to see that. Your tour packages are wherever, see, for example, even for the common man, if a 5% reduced rate is there is some reason behind it. Either it is used by the common man, or it's a conditional exemption. So in your case, sir, GST at 5% is to be charged when you don't take ITC. So that is the reply. When you are charging 5%, you cannot take ITC of anything. If you have kept two clerks and they come from a man supplier agency and that gentleman charges 18% on that, you have got a nice air conditioner for your office. Sir, ITC is not allowed. So the question is, sir, you cannot take credit of this. So you will have to pay the entire 400 as tax and not 300, because I think your question stems from the fact that you're in the same line of business. Probably, is it because so? Then I don't think there is this it is applicable. Only for beauty parlor taking credit and food and beverage composite mixed supplier or a composite supply, ये application credit मिलता है उनको. Otherwise, there is no situation where it is a conditional है तो आपको नहीं मिल सकता है. For example, पार्शियल कंडीशनल भी है फॉर जीएसटी फॉर गुड्स ट्रांसपोर्ट. अगर आपको आईटीसी चाहिए तो आप बराबरी है, आपको आईटीसी नहीं चाहिए तो सामने वाला भरेगा 5%. तो सिमिलरली सर आप नहीं ले सकते हैं. दैट इज माय आंसर. यू पुट इन अ केस टू सर. आई एम एन एजेंट इन पुणे. इफ आई बुक होटल इन मुंबई, होटल चार्ज मी 12% जीएसटी. कैन आई टेक इनपुट क्रेडिट? What is your out? You are an agent. You have booked an hotel. First part I am taking, I do not know what is their outward supply. So in that case, my answer would be, आप ले सकते हैं. If it is to your business, if you're an engineer, you're an agent of recruiting agency, or you're a manpower consultant and you supply manpower, then obviously your guy goes उधर service देने के लिए बैठने के लिए. तो I will say, in your own state, since you have said Maharashtra, you will get the credit. If he goes and stays in a hotel outside, again your credit is lost. But you are saying hotel charges, including GST plus service charge, 1,000 plus 18% GST on service charges will be the bill. You cannot take the credit, obviously, sir. Here you are a pure agent. For a client, you have booked a hotel because that gentleman is very busy. बोलता है आनंद आप मेरे लिए होटल बुक कर दो, मैं एक एक्स्ट्रा 1,000 रुपया आपको देता हूँ, करके देना. So you pay ITC Sheraton 10,000 rupees, they charge you 18%, right? And I take in the same bill, I write 10,000 for the hotel. I don't write 11,000. 10,000 for the hotel, 18% GST. So when I get that money, you are a pure agent. You have not rendered any service. The hotel will render the supply to the client, but I am a pure agent in between. For layman, आप ट्रेन टिकट लिए हो, उसमें पूरा टिकट पे आपको कमीशन नहीं मारता है आरसीटीसी. 10 रुपया 20 रुपया जो मारता है उस पे लेता है, बिकॉज ही इज वर्किंग ऑन बिहाफ ऑफ हिम. ये आपके लिए बुकिंग आप बुक करते हैं, दैट इज द मीडियम थ्रू विच ही पेज दैट 600 रुपीज 700 रुपीज बैक टू रेलवेज एंड एक कमीशन खाता है. तो वो कमीशन पे जीएसटी बढ़ता है. तो यही केस है सर आपका, क्योंकि आप अलग से सर्विस चार्ज मार रहे हैं. जीएसटी ऑफिसर आपको सताएगा नहीं. आपने वेरी नाइसली, यू हैव नॉट टेकन कैश, you have charged 1,000 rupees to the gentleman, you have charged 18%, he will pay you on that 1,180, and on the 10,000 plus 1,800 he will pay you. So that will qualify as pure agent. Section 34 governs it. Don't worry. So pure agent concept is very prevalent in the shipping industry. If you export or import, many people must be doing, they understand what is pure agent. So, sir, I've answered the questions that have come to me. In spite of this, if they want any further, they can always contact me offline or in email, no problem. Now, anybody, you can put the questions, the audience can go and ask me some questions, please.
Can I take the online ones?
Yeah, please.
Okay. The first question is, this is Chitra from DMC Leisure Private Limited. Can we utilize other states' CGST towards CGST of our state?
You're talking of situations where you conduct exhibitions and stay in hotels. Is it related to that?
She's not mentioned that.
Okay. Generally, this situation happens, as I said, place of supply. When you want to know what tax has to be paid, you have to go to the IGST Act. And there the place of supply default is where the or recipient is the, wherever it is situated, that recipient के नाम पे आपको IGST मारना है या local है तो C+. But in certain cases, where everything happens in a particular state, but the recipient is outsider, government बोलती है ये तो GST के विरुद्ध चला गया. You are saying consumption tax है, तो consumption तो यहाँ हुआ ना, तो महाराष्ट्र को मिलना चाहिए ना. तो वो C+S का लाइसेंस लेके वो लोग भरते हैं. तो वो C&S जैसे the general agreement of trade of tariffs does not allow export of tax to other countries. If you are exporting, you cannot charge tax. TDS हो सकता है, वो होता है, but tax आप charge नहीं कर सकते हैं because we have signed an agreement. So tax, export tax कैसा होता है? या तो आप भर के customs देती है goods में, या आप LUT में एक system है, LUT में भरते हैं. Similarly, a tax of a state cannot travel beyond the frontiers of another state. So to be fair, there is a system of IGST. Though it is IGST Act, it is not an act at all. It is just a train, a medium, a plane which takes the tax to the recipient. So IGST होता तो आप ले सकते हैं. अगर होटल या एग्जीबिशन जहां मैडम रजिस्टर्ड है वहां है, so our question is of another state, so I need not tell that situation. It cannot be utilized. Certain chartered accountants have taken the view that C का ले सकते हैं, S का नहीं ले सकते हैं. So वो नहीं हो सकता मैडम, उसका आपको नोटिस मिलेगा ही मिलेगा. They have said the party to avail C, don't avail S. They are saying C तो है ना, सेंट्रल का है, तो मैं क्यों नहीं लूं? But it is not allowed, madam. वो आपको 8A में दिख जाएगा. When you go to the portal and click on that generate return, it will say out of state. तो रेडीमेड मटेरियल है ऑडिटर के लिए या अपना ऑफिसर के लिए या एंटीवेशन के लिए. सो रिस्क नहीं लीजिएगा. नहीं, my answer is a plain no. I am an ex-department. Even when I was in the department, I am saying no. Even now, when I have come to, generally when we come to the other side of the table, डिपार्टमेंट जो बोलना सब रॉन्ग है बोल देते हैं. लेकिन मैं ऐसा नहीं हूं, मैं अभी बोल रहा हूं आप नहीं ले सकते हैं.
Next question is from Tia's Global. I'm a trader of handicrafts. I buy these handicrafts from poor artisans who don't have a GST registration. How do I claim ITC in this case? Sandeep Nair, Tia's Global.
No, but where is the question of any tax when they are poor? See, 20 lakhs is available to that particular poor artisan. He need not take registration at all. So ITC is basically credit of tax paid. In this situation, tax has not been paid. तो डीम्ड क्रेडिट का तो कोई स्कीम है नहीं. पहले अर्स्टवाइल रेजिम में था, लेकिन अभी डीम्ड का तो नहीं है. Am I answering right? Is it the same that you wanted to know? The poor artisans are not registered, and it is not in reverse charge mechanism also. For example, if I buy something from an agriculturalist, I am supposed to pay tax on that and take the credit. So RCM on goods has come in now, the GST regime. So there is no RCM on this also, ma'am. or whoever has asked this question. So no, the question of ITC does not come at all. It does not arise because tax has not been paid. The very term input tax credit, you have to go reverse credit of the tax paid on input. So when tax has not been paid, there is no deemed provision. No, for example, income tax, I have a residential property, if I am correct, I am allowed something in the this one deduction in the this that I must have spent something on its repair. I must have spent. So ऐसा मिलता है standard deduction. It is assumed that a deduction should be given, a rebate should be given. तो ऐसा कोई scheme मेरे GST department
So he's
बताइए.
written the artisans buy copper from market by paying GST and includes that in the cost. So that
that
is
is
why
what-
he's asking for ITC.
Lovely, lovely. I got it. Madam, if the gentleman or the lady has heard this one is that to avail credit, my outward supply should be taxable. So it is a B2C. The copper company, Hindustan Copper or Indian Smelter or Anandra Copper Manufacturing Company it comes a B2C. So when B2C, the chain gets broken and there is no scheme. See, there could be a scheme outside the GST. For example, if you export fruits, not only you get the this one all packaging material, you also get some MIS scheme or something you get. तो ऐसा कुछ आर्टिसंस का स्कीम है तो ठीक है, नहीं तो yes ma'am, it's cost to the company. Or I can suggest one, you buy the copper, send him on delivery challan on job work basis and get it back in the period. अभी तो sufficient है, पहले 90 फिर 180, अभी तो एक बरस में आप माल लेके आ सकते हैं आपसे आर्टिसियन से. So the copper, now if you do not want to invest on substantial amount of copper, then the situation is different. Otherwise, this is a very good, there is no violation of the law. It is within the legal framework. आप कॉपर अपने नाम पे खरीदिए, डायरेक्ट जाने दीजिए उसको बिल टू शिप टू में. You can still take the credit. 1000 kilos गया, 998 का माल आया तो honestly 2 किलो में आप स्क्रैप बेचिए या उतना ITC रिवर्सल कीजिए. 998 आ गया तो आप अपवर्ड सप्लाई में जो है definitely you can use as credit for set off. So this is a very good, and that will also lower the burden on that fellow. Now, if he is having a bigger profit margin, he will not agree to that, the artisan. Because when I, as a recipient, buy, I am going to dabao the artisan and say, I will not take it at 12 rupees per kilo. Your charge, I will give you only 8 rupees per kilo. So all the modalities I have said. So all the best to you. Any further on that, I am ready to answer, please.
Sir,
Next.
there are many travel agents over here. So most of them are saying that how to claim ITC. Like we have even the Taffy joined over here. They also have requested your guidance regarding the applicability of input tax credit in the context of travel agents, specifically those involved in air ticketing and tour operations.
What credit do they want?
ITC for travel agents, how to claim?
See, madam, that is what I said. Such questions which involve rate of tax on their outward taxable supply, I unfortunately have not bought my book on that because I thought I will be answering questions related to pure ITC only, admissibility, ineligibility, ISA and all. So I need to understand, is anyone there who can tell me the rate of tax on their firm, and is it a conditional rate or an unconditional rate? What is it?
Can somebody raise your hand? Whoever can clear it, please.
I believe they work as pure agents. Our ticketing cost ka to kuch lete nahi hai. Only on that their commission they charge GST. So, and I think it is without ITC. So please, can I know the rate of tax, sir?
Sir, can I take the next question till that time?
Please, please.
Yeah. It is from Chitra. GST payable on profit on sale of car. Should we calculate the profit using depreciation as per Income Tax Act or Companies Act, as the profit varies between them?
Oh, is it so? This is a new situation which has arisen because whenever we have gone to audit or where we have suddenly seen the depreciated value, we have not checked and under what act have they done. If they say कि मैं ये depreciated value 3 lakhs है मैंने 5 में बेचा तो 2 में difference में हम लोग जो भी 12% लेते थे. So this is a very new thing. For GST purpose, we will go by the Income Tax Act only, because we share information with them and it's an allied act for us. So my prima facie answer would be Income Tax Act. But then please send me this question on my email through Anil or your organization. I will certainly study this and I will get back to them as far as which act has to be taken. Because if there is a difference, definitely कोई intelligent officer रहेगा, न्यूसेंस क्रिएट करना है तो वो बोलेगा दोनों एक्ट का मेरे को दिखाओ क्या डिप्रिसिएशन आपने लिया है ना सर? बिकॉज टेल मी व्हाट डू दे इन देयर बैलेंस शीट, व्हाट वैल्यू दे शो डिडक्ट इसमें डिप्रिसिएशन में? आई थिंक इन बैलेंस शीट में सर दैट शेड्यूल ऑफ फिक्स्ड एसेट्स में तो दे वुड बी डूइंग इनकम टैक्स एक्ट ना. 15%, 25%, 40% कुछ है वो 5%, 10% वो रहते हैं. Can you ask them the question? There, what do
Yeah.
they follow?
Yeah, they'll be coming back till the time. This travel agent question, Mr. Santosh Khawle is ready to clarify on the question what he's asked. Mr. Santosh, please unmute yourselves. Yeah.
Yeah, good evening, sir. It's a real good insight. See, our business is on a 5%. To operator, it is a 5% GST. And whatever the service charge we put it, like we put a visa and I put a 18% service charge. The service charge, then it is a 18%. So my question are two. If I buy a service from the Gujarat agent, he charged me 5% on the package tour, total package tour, that is including of hotel and transport. And then again, I sell it to somebody with putting my margin to the end user. So whatever I get IGST claim from the Ahmedabad agent, Gujarat agent, can I take a ITC on it?
No, see, as I said, tour operator 5% is without ITC.
Okay.
So when there is no ITC, the change stops there only. You're not allowed to. And I wouldn't know whether tour operators are allowed to take ITC and pay at a higher rate like goods transport. Because the Goods Transport Association faced a lot of problems. There were big transport operators who were having big trucks.
Okay.
So they said, sir, we would like to pay tax. So then for them it came, but at the starting of the year, they should file a declaration. That has now come till you change permanent to हम मानेंगे. तो आपके इसमें ऐसा है क्या? We will have to see, sir. Same side of business में तो नहीं है, because I saw the rate GST is 5% without GST, without ITC. अगर ऐसा scheme है, and I am sure all your agents in the trade must be knowing कि है कि नहीं करके. The question has come because there is only 5%, only one rate for you. So even though you are in the same line of business, sir, I am sorry, credit cannot be availed. It becomes cost to you. And as far as your second visa is there, it is allowed wherever common credits come. You have to reverse under Rule 42. Wherever one-to-one is issue, agent ka, you are very clear it is going to be used to this client. There you can't. Otherwise, you are taking AMC or rental income ka, rental expenditure ka आप credit लेते हैं. उसका तो आप proportionately to the value you can reverse. There is a formula.
Okay.
So you don't lose credit on common things. You lose ITC on one-to-one related things. बताइए.
Can you elaborate on one-to-one in common? See, did you got my see? I got see. It is not also double taxation. Like for the same services, the Gujarat agent had charged me 5%. Okay. On the same, again, I'm charging 5% to the client. But
what is the general trend? Are you all taking ITC?
No, there is a big confusion in that.
No. I understand. आप कितने साल से ये लाइन ऑफ बिजनेस में है सर?
More than 20 years.
More than 20 years, right? तो
Hmm.
अगर आईटीसी था आप लोग के लिए तो ये कहीं ना कहीं फोरम में आया होगा, either from your higher forum side or whatever in the council. See what happens. There are certain disorganized sectors
Mhm.
where government feels कि यहाँ लीकेज ऑफ रेवेन्यू है, इसीलिए वो लोग ने 5% दिया है सर सर्टन सेक्टर्स में. आई डू नॉट से योर सेक्टर इज अनऑर्गेनाइज्ड. फॉर एग्जांपल जीटीए, द होटल इंडस्ट्री, नाउ फॉरगेट इट, नाउ 18% आल्सो हैज कम फॉर सर्टन थिंग्स. ये सब 5% है. क्यों? क्योंकि उनको जो सप्लाईज में है ना, इधर मोस्ट ऑफ देम आर एग्जेम्प्टेड और वेरी हाई रेट. एक होटल मैं चला रहा हूं, मेरा धंधा 1.5 करोड़ है, लेकिन मैं रेंट भर रहा हूं, हाई रेंट भर रहा हूं, लॉस में चला रहा हूं, नो डाउट, बट मेरा क्रेडिट रहते जा रहा है. स्टार्टिंग में 2 बरस तो था, वो रेंटल का इनकम लेता था, वो सिक्योरिटी वाले का क्रेडिट लेता था, मैं जो रिपेयर्स कर दिया मेरा सलिया बिलिया उसका सब ले रहा था. तो गवर्नमेंट सर ये तो नुकसान वाली बात है, हमारे को तो बिल्कुल मिल नहीं रहा है, उससे अच्छा इनको 5% करो, आईटीसी मत करो. सो इन योर सिचुएशन per se, I say that credit is not allowed. लेकिन sir, please take the email of IMC. आप situation मेरे को डालिए, because I'm sure tour agents को नहीं allowed है. Whether same line of business को allowed है क्या, वो मैं देख के बता पाऊंगा सर. बट वो मेरे को क्वेश्चन अलग से ये कीजिए. और वीसा का तो डेफिनेटली आपको जो भी रिलेटेड क्रेडिट्स उसके 1-to-1 क्रेडिट का मैं बोलता हूं. आपके पास आपको स्टाफ का झंझट नहीं चाहिए, प्रोविडेंट फंड वगैरह कुछ नहीं चाहिए, तो आपका अच्छा बिजनेस चल रहा है, ठीक है. मेनली टूर ऑपरेटर का है, और वीसा का भी उसी टूर में किसको लग गया वीसा, किसी को लगा कि उधर मेरे को वो चाहिए ये चाहिए कुछ भी, या कुछ यहाँ सर्विस चाहिए, तो उसका आप 18% भर रहे हैं. इसीलिए आपने वो मैन पावर सप्लायर से 5 बंदे मांगे हैं, ठीक है, to do that work. So if all the 5 employees are doing any work, then it is not 1-to-1 credit, वो proportionately वो reverse करना है. लेकिन अगर 2 बंदे खाली टूर में काम कर रहे हैं, उनका काम ये वीसा का कुछ वीसा का स्पेलिंग भी नहीं आता है, या उसको अमेरिकन वीसा को भेजेगा तो ब्रिटेन एम्बेसी में चला जाता है, तो अगर वो 3 यहाँ है, वो 3 का आपको क्रेडिट मिलेगा, ये 2 का तो आप ले ही नहीं सकते. At the end of the month, you should immediately ineligible credit आपको रिटर्न में दिखाना है. That is 1-to-1 credit. आप एक एजेंट लगाते हैं, ऐसा बिजनेस पकड़ यार, मेरे को क्लाइंट का ऐसा बिजनेस पकड़ जो आप मेरे को टूर पैकेजेस लेके आएगा. आप कोई भी देश का ले लो, कोई भी इसका ले लो, मेरे पास बंदे पड़े हैं जो मेरे को ये टूर पैकेज भेजेंगे. अगर वो एजेंट 18% आपको चार्ज करता है, तो 1-to-1 हो गया सब टूर के लिए, तो आपको नहीं मिलेगा. आप अपने पैकेज बेचने के लिए कमीशन एजेंट रखते हैं, और वो एजेंट आपको 18% चार्ज करता है, तो वो आपको नहीं मिलेगा. आप वीसा के लिए कोई एजेंट रखते हैं, तो वो एजेंट का पैसा मिलेगा. तो ये मैं बोल रहा हूं 1-to-1 सेक्शन 17(1) and 2 और 17(3) जो कॉमन क्रेडिट्स है, ये मैं बोलना चाहता हूं. अगर आप यू गॉट द कॉन्सेप्ट, ओके, अदरवाइज यू कैन आस्क फर्दर क्लैरिफिकेशंस फ्रॉम मी. लेकिन वो जो पहला ये है, per se I am still saying that you will not get credit, but please send me on through the IMC, then I will definitely study that. As I said, no sir, every consultant or expert does not know everything. He knows it, but वो situation उसके सामने आया नहीं है. So once I go through the notification, I will tell you in a jiffy whether you will get it or not. And if I am able to help you and you will get ITC, मेरा एक पैकेज मुफ्त